Gerald, you've got the floor in the last 2 minutes as we go to break here. Solutions. I mean, where do you see this going? I think it's time for folks to get angry and really wake up and realize we've got a criminal government.
Well, I told you, we have a criminal government. I've told you my only solution that I know of this time, and that's directdemocracynow.org. And as I mentioned to you, oddly, of all the people in the world, this week and last week, in the Wall Street Journal and in I believe it was Monday's Financial Times, Vladimir Putin, the Prime Minister of Russia, is saying that now is a possible time to look at, quote, direct democracy. We have to take the power out of the hands of the 535 gangsters that are telling 312 million of us how to tie our shoes and put it back in the hands of the people. Let the people run the country. I'm sick of these politicians telling me they're public servants. They haven't cleaned my toilet lately. How about doing what we tell you to do, Nancy Pelosi, instead of you telling me what to do? Hey, Mitch McConnell, I'm tired of hearing your flabby mouth telling me what's good for me. You do what I want you to do. Hey, all of you out there, Mr. President, listen to the voice of the people. We're supposed to have a democracy. It's a kleptocracy. It's fascism. Let's have a real democracy, a direct democracy. Let the people vote.
All right.
directdemocracynow.org.
Gerald Celente, obviously, will continue to talk to you as things develop. Trendsresearch.com. Thank you so much for your time. I know you're very busy. God bless, and hopefully we'll all be able to defend ourselves from these criminals. The Soviets would invade so many countries and do so many horrible things. And they started small. They got more and more bold. Well, it's the same thing as the Nazis or any other authoritarian group. And societies, media, universities, everybody's geared around facing a military threat. We all know some weird leader in a uniform strutting around and screaming is bad news. Well, these guys are little old bald-headed men who talk in weird financial languages designed. Their emails have all come out where they're cussing and laughing and calling us scum and recordings of it. These idiots will buy all this stuff we do. We're stealing everything. You know, that's what's going on behind the scenes, but up front it's like the political analysis of the monetary inflection shows a moderate movement in several different directions on the upside and the low side. In the cumulative 2-year overriding derivatives market shows a strengthening in the second quarter if we continue growth and all other systems are not stagnant. If the overall driver could show some concern by the third quarter if we do not move up in the systematic overlay system. I mean, just total bull. They're selling pure derivatives garbage to people. They're coming in buying off your local politicians to raise big bonds and invest them in crud. They're coming in and going, it's for the earth, taking property, 20,000 acres plus in Austin. Years later, handing it over to the big banks to build on. Some of the farmers outside Austin wouldn't sell their property. They actually sent the SWAT teams out there and got on bullhorns a decade ago or more and said, come out, come out. And they'd be like, extremists won't leave their property. It's for the earth, a biosphere. 5 years later, they go, we're taking the biosphere off and selling it to the former mayor's best friends that contributed. Here's the $300 million in property for $5 million. It's yours. Thank you. Now the former mayor will set up a bank that gets all the business deals. And they're like, well, they're letting us do this. Start taking the bank accounts. Don't like it? SWAT teams are standing by. By the way, if you get too uppity, Al-Qaeda might hit. You know, Al-Qaeda could hit any minute. We have to take all your rights and have to grab your wife's genitals and your children's genitals and your genitals. Because if we don't, it's all over. You see, because Al-Qaeda will get us. Now, I want to get into the financial news. I want to get into all this other crazy news and continue with your phone calls. I want to do what we did yesterday again. That was fun, giving each caller 30 seconds. And then myself only 10, because we got to a lot of people. 1-800-259-9231. 1-800-259-9231. People ask, why do I know so much? People ask, why do I predict things so accurately? What has every historian and philosopher said in different ways? Old, wise men from every culture. If you don't study history, you are going to be a slave. If you don't study history, you're doomed to repeat it. Great wisdom comes with studying human history because humans do the same things over and over again. Back when I had time, it's one of the few things I miss because I read so many news articles, so many documents, that by the time I'm done working at 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night, some nights even later, I cannot read history books anymore. My eyes, if I do, are bloodshot the next day, and I actually get eye strain. I just can't do it anymore. I can't do it. But up until just a few years ago, I would read a history book every week. Read a couple chapters, go on to bed. And humans act the same over and over again. I know every globalist trick inside and out because they study history. They've just reworked every other game plan, every other blueprint. I know them because I know humanity. I know the species. I know the good, I know the bad, I know the ugly. I know myself, and I know the enemy. The average person grew up, got hardly any schooling. If they did, it was mind-numbing garbage. And they just learned how to do a specialized task. They go hate that task all day. The beginning of degradation of the mind is not liking your work. And then they just want to go blow their mind on sports, drugs, alcohol, whatever it is, when they get off work. And I don't blame people. You know, you worked all day at some job you hate. You want to go spend that time you got. You know, you let your kids run wild because you want a few hours. And the TV's there creating the new culture. We don't have a culture anymore. You notice political correctness attacks every culture and then pushes the plastic corporate culture, which is an anti-human culture in all their textbooks by design, because humanity and goodness is not compatible with the New World Order. But if we ever rediscover being men, being women, if we ever just rediscover the normal, proper roles, if we ever rediscover what it's all about, it's pure milk and honey. Life is great. This is a beautiful planet. Every moment is a gift. Every day a blessing. God has laid out so many wonderful things for us. It's an incredible... The world is so beautiful and so good and so full of electric life and energy and magic that's why I hate evil. That's why I hate corruption. Because I hate pain, I hate sickness, I hate those that wish to vandalize beauty, those that wish to attack goodness, those who wish to dominate the weak. I have an overriding desire to energize and set bushfires in the minds of good men and women and see you rise together, and we will crush evil with God's help. We will absolutely overdrive it and annihilate it. And then a great time of blessing will come, and then our grandchildren will become decadent again, and evil will creep back in, and people will say, oh, the old-timers, they say fight corruption, put up with no forms of corruption, because they don't want you to have a good time. Let us not forget what we've been through over and over again. We've been through all this over and over again. Over and over and over and over again. It goes on and on and on. But now, because of the high-tech weapons and systems, we can't go through this again. We're not going to make it if we go through this again. Now, they've taught through the globalist churches in the last 150 years that it's the end of the world every 5 minutes, and there's no reason to fight evil because God's coming back. Even if God was coming back in 5 minutes, it's our responsibility to fight evil, or God's going to say he knows it's not. And if you don't believe in God, my point is it's a giant scapegoat, and I've gone over it. I've had experts on. You can show where the globalists funded this, where the Illuminati funded the idea that the end of the world's always coming, so why fight evil, Romans 13, all that. Well, I could quote the Bible to you all day. Nineveh's 100-year reprieve. The list goes on and on. The times Israel did repent and was spared and blessed and warned over and over again. It's a lie that everything is set in stone. It's set in stone in the vision of the Creator. But God then lets us make the decisions on this plane about which way we go. It's almost like You ever seen those children's books that came out in the 80s? I know I read them, where there's like 2 or 3 different outcomes, depending on how you read the book. You see, the book's written. Every one of those possible realities is in the mind of the creator, like a crystal, but like a hologram. But we, free will, decide. So things are predestined, but they're not. You see, that's the riddle. That's 3, 4, 5-dimensional thinking. And it doesn't matter because the body and all of this is transitory. Fear not he who can kill the body, fear he who can kill the soul. The globalists don't want money. They use us to get. They use that to get us to sell out. They use that as their false form of energy that's actually just a symbol that they get us to sell out for, that they control society. The globalists at the end of the day are obsessed with your mind. They are obsessed with your intellect. They are obsessed with how you're raised and what you believe. They traffic, as Revelation says, in the souls of men. In fact, my uncle gave me a Bible verse and wrote it down about they kill souls, they destroy, from, I think, Ezekiel. And I had it in here last week, and I guess it got taken out. I lost it. I was going to read it, but it was another passage that said the same thing. The point is, even if you don't believe the Bible, it's history. It's people have seen the same things. We've gone through the same things. It's happened over and over again. Now, I'm going to get into the economy a little bit here, and then I'm going to get into, you can't make this up, and I think Kurt ought to send this to Drudge, because this is pretty powerful. DOJ says make it a federal crime to lie on the internet, but they'll decide what's a lie. The liar of liars, the king of liars. This system will tell us what a lie is, and you've heard them. They've said if you don't believe in man-made global warming and don't want to pay Al Gore money, you should be arrested. That's the White House regulations are coming up with this stuff, coming up with this new regulation. This is Cass Sunstein. Going to cover that. Super Congress is now to decide the new farming bill in secret. Not the regular Congress, but the appointed High Court of Satan. I don't know, 12 people with a 13th head. Don't you see all the Illuminati stuff in your face? 12 disciples, Christ the 13th. Oh, boy, these people are out of control. Let's go ahead and go to Ted Anderson here on the economy. Wow, you heard Gerald Celente earlier, what he's doing, and he was taking delivery of his 6 figures plus of gold, and they just said, we're taking it. And now that's a big national news story. The whole markets are melting down. Bank of America is getting ready to go to the public for $79 trillion in derivatives. Folks, the entire budgets of this country's not even, 1/10 of that. I mean, the military budget is $1.8 trillion on budget, off budget, supplemental. I mean, we're talking about a joke here. And they're going to convince you somehow you owe it and say, well, the public needs to pay their fair share. America got lazy. America deserves it. And the public's like, I guess I've got to have my taxes raised and live in a shack because America owes, this stuff for Bank of America, this globalist company financing open borders, anti-gun movements, New World Order garbage, Federal Reserve shareholders. Ted Anderson, what do you make of Gerald Celente and your 34 years in gold and silver brokering to have the company he was involved with bought up by MF Global, and then they seized his private account with over 6 figures in it? And at first, people didn't believe